everyone, this is Brittany here from Just Be Crafty. If you're new here, welcome, and if not, thank you so much for coming back. In today's video, I have 3 new fun patterns to share with you, and these 3 patterns make up the office desk set. So whether you have an office at home or you have to leave your house to go to the office, these patterns will for sure spruce up your desk space. The office desk set includes a coaster, a pencil cup cozy, and a desk mat. These video tutorials are intended to help you along with the written patterns, which you can find for free to view on my blog, or if you prefer a printable PDF version, that can be purchased in my shop. I'll have links to both options below in the video description box. You'll also find links to all the materials I'm using in today's video as well. Let's go ahead and get started. You'll want 4 colors of your favorite 100% acrylic worsted weight yarn. I'm using Big Twist in the following colors. You'll want a 5mm crochet hook, scissors, a yarn needle, and a few stitch markers. Let's make the coaster. The coaster is made up of a granny square with a border around it. So to get started, we're going to begin with the magic ring. And in the magic ring, we're going to pull up a loop and we're going to chain 5. This chain 5 will count as a double crochet plus a chain 2. So continuing in the magic ring, we're going to make 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. We're now going to chain 2. And we're going to make 3 more double crochets into the magic ring. Okay, so now we're going to chain 2. And we're going to make 3 more double crochets into the magic ring. Okay, wonderful. Now we're going to chain 2 again, and we're going to make just 2 double crochets. So now we're going to just pull that little tail to close the magic ring. And then get that tail out of the way. And we're going to join with the 3rd chain of the starting chain 5 from the beginning of the row. And see, that is going to create our last cluster. So now you're going to slip stitch into the next chain space. We've just completed round 1. We can now cut our yarn and fasten off. And now in any corner, I like to just rotate and go to the next adjacent corner, and we're going to attach our yarn. So insert your hook into that chain space, make a slip knot, slide that slip knot onto your hook, and draw it up through the chain space. We're now going to chain 5, and once again, this chain 5 is going to count as a double crochet plus a chain 2. And in that chain space, we're going to make 3 double crochets. We're now going to find the next chain space, and we're going to make 3 double crochets. And these 3 double crochets are going to be referred to as cluster stitches. Okay, we're going to chain 2, and in that same chain space, we're going to make 3 more double crochets. And we're just going to repeat that for the next 2 chain spaces. So we're going to make 3 double crochets, followed by a chain 2, and 3 more double crochets in the same chain space. So go ahead and work both of those corners. Okay, going back to the first corner, we're going to place 2 double crochets into that chain space. And we're going to slip stitch into the 3rd chain of the starting chain 5 from the start of the round. Okay, and now slip stitch into the corner space. Perfect. We've just completed round 2, so now we can cut our yarn and fasten off. We're now ready to begin round 3. So once again, rotate your square. You can insert your hook into any chain space you'd like. Make a slip knot with your new color. Slide the slip knot onto your hook. Pull it up through and chain 5. Once again, this chain 5 is going to count as a double crochet plus a chain 2. In that same chain space, we're going to make 3 double crochets. All right, so now we're going to work 3 double crochets into the next cluster space. All right, and we've reached our next corner. So in the corner, we're going to make 3 double crochets, followed by a chain 2, and 3 more double crochets into the same chain corner space. And we're going to keep repeating the same process that we're doing. In each of the cluster spaces, we're going to be making 3 double crochets, and at each of the corners, we're going to be making 3 double crochets, followed by a chain 2 and 3 more double crochets in the same corner space. If you'd like, pause here and meet back up with me once you've made it all the way back around to the beginning. All right, so we made it back around to the beginning, and in that first corner, we're going to make 2 double crochets. And then we're going to join with the 3rd chain of our starting chain 5 using a slip stitch. Slip stitch into the next corner space. We can now clip our yarn and fasten off. This completes round 3, and now we're ready to begin our 4th and final round. So to start, insert your hook into the chain space, make a slip knot with your new color, place the slip knot on your hook, draw it up through, and chain 5. And I probably don't have to tell you, but I'm going to tell you anyway, that chain 5 is going to count as a double crochet plus a chain 2. And in that same chain space, we're going to make 3 double crochets. And in the next 2 cluster spaces, we're going to make 3 double crochets. So in this first cluster space, we're making 3 double crochets. Okay. In the next cluster space, we're going to make 3 more double crochets. And now we're at our next corner space. So this is really just more of the same. We're going to keep repeating the same process around the entire square. So in this corner, we're of course going to make 3 double crochets, followed by a chain 2, and 3 more double crochets. And along our straight edges, we're going to make 3 double crochets in each of those cluster spaces. If you'd like, pause here and meet back up with me once you've made it back to the beginning of the round. We made it back around and we're going to finish off the round by making 2 double crochets into the first chain space. And we're going to join with a slip stitch into the 3rd chain from the starting chain 5. Can snip our yarn, and we're going to slip stitch into the next corner space. Fasten off, and now we're ready to make our border. Insert your hook into any corner space, grab the yarn you want to use as your border, make a slip knot, slide onto your hook, draw up, and chain 1. We're going to make 3 single crochets in the same corner space. So this is round 1 of our border. We're now going to make a single crochet into each stitch across this straight edge. So we're just going into each stitch and we're making a single crochet. We've made it to our next corner and we're simply going to make 3 single crochets in that same corner space. Continue working in this same fashion all around your square. Okay, we made it back around to the beginning, but we're not going to join. This is what your square should look like. We're going to grab a stitch marker and insert it into that last stitch of the round. We're now going to start on round 2 of our border, and this is our final round. So going into that first stitch, make a single crochet. We're now going to skip 2 stitches. Okay, so skip 2 stitches into that next stitch, make 7 double crochets. This is going to create our scalloped border. So work 7 double crochets into that same stitch. All right, so I've worked 7 double crochets to that same stitch. We're now going to skip 2 stitches, and in that next stitch, make a single crochet. And we're just going to keep repeating that process. So skip 2 stitches and make 7 double crochets in that same stitch. We're now going to skip 2 stitches and make a single crochet into the next stitch. Gonna skip 2 stitches and make 7 double crochets into the next stitch. You're just going to keep repeating the same process all the way around your granny square. And we're not doing anything special in our corners. We're simply making a single crochet in one stitch, skipping 2 stitches, making 7 double crochet in the next, skipping 2 stitches, and just repeating the process over and over and over again until you get back to the beginning of the round. One thing to note about this technique, this is a popular edging for blankets, all sorts of things, and likely your stitches are not going to be exact at the end, but that leaves you a little bit of room to kind of play around with your numbers once you get back around to the beginning. So you might, instead of skipping 2 stitches between each single crochet or your 7 double crochet cluster, you might just need to skip 1, or maybe you need to do 3, or something of the like. You need to kind of manipulate your stitches a little bit. And actually the numbers will work out for me this time. You just need to have a multiple of 6. So after completing my 7 double crochets, I do have 2 stitches to skip, and then I can slip stitch into the first stitch of the round to complete the round. Remove your stitch marker and slip stitch into the first stitch of the round to join. So now we can cut our yarn and fasten off. So now we can flip our work over and weave in our ends. So just go ahead, thread your needle and work one of your tails back and forth in about a 1-inch spot. Really making sure to catch different strands as you go and really get that kind of tangled and weaved into one spot. And once you feel like it's sufficiently weaved in, you can go ahead and clip your tail and repeat for all remaining tails. And that completes your coaster. Let's make our cup holder cozy. To get started, grab your yarn, and we're going to start with the magic ring. In the magic ring, we're going to begin with the chain 2. This is not going to count as a stitch, by the way. You're going to make 8 half double crochets into the magic ring. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay? You can now take your tail, recount, make sure you have 8. Take your tail, pull it to tighten, and we're going to mark that last stitch with a stitch marker. This will help us keep track of rounds because we're not going to join at the end of our rounds. We're going to keep working continuously. So now we're ready to begin round 2. We're going to make 2 half double crochets into every stitch around. So at the end of round 1, we had 8 stitches, and at the end of round 2, we'll have 16. Keep working 2 half double crochet stitches into each stitch in this round. Okay, we're almost to the end of the round. We just have a few stitches left. All right, we've just reached our last stitch. So we're gonna take out that stitch marker and we're going to place our last 2 half double crochets into that last stitch. We're now going to take our stitch marker and put it back into the last stitch of the round. Perfect. That completes round 2 and we're now ready to begin round 3. For round 3, we're going to make 1 half double crochet into the first stitch. Okay, so go into that first stitch and make 1 half double crochet. Into the next stitch, we're going to make 2 half double crochet stitches. Okay, the next stitch, make 1 half double crochet. And in the next stitch, we're going to make 2 half double crochets. So for this round, we're simply going to just be increasing in every other stitch. So at the end of round 2, you had 16 stitches, and at the end of round 3, you'll have 24. Okay, we made it back around to the last stitch, and you're going to remove that marker, and we're going to make our last 2 half double crochets into that last stitch. And now we're going to place our marker back into the last stitch. That concludes round 3, and we're ready to begin round 4. So in that first stitch, we're going to make 1 half double crochet. In the next stitch, 1 half double crochet. And in the next stitch, we're going to make 2 half double crochets. So for this round, we're going to be increasing in every third stitch. So you're going to make a half double crochet in the next stitch, a half double crochet in the stitch after that, and then you're going to increase by making 2 half double crochets into the third stitch. You're going to keep repeating this process all the way around. All right, and we're now at the last stitch. So remove the stitch marker and you're going to make 2 half double crochets into that last stitch. Perfect. We're now going to put the marker back into that last stitch. We'll next be moving on to our granny rounds. Grab your cup holder, and this is what your circle should look like on your cup holder. So it's the bottom of the cup holder. To start our granny round, we're going to slip stitch into the first stitch from the previous round. And we're going to chain 3. This chain 3 is going to count as a double crochet. We're going to make 2 double crochets into that same space. So this creates our first cluster. Okay. We're going to skip 2 stitches. All right. And we're going to make 3 double crochets into that next stitch. Okay. skip 2 stitches and make 3 double crochet into the next stitch. Once again, skip 2 stitches, make 3 double crochet into the next stitch. Keep repeating this process until you work all the way back around. You should end with 1 stitch. The stitch marker stitch remained unworked. We're almost done with this round. We're skipping 2 stitches, placing 3 double crochets into that same stitch, okay, we can now remove our marker and we're going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3 that started this round. Okay, and now slip stitch into the next 2 stitches to get yourself into the next cluster space. So once you're in there, we can go ahead and cut our yarn and fasten off. Okay, perfect. So this is what you should have. This is what it should look like. We're now ready to begin our next round. So insert your hook into any cluster space, make a slip knot, put the knot on your hook, draw up, and chain 3. Again, this chain 3 is going to count as a double crochet. In that same cluster space, you're going to make 2 double crochets. Okay, so now going into the next cluster space, we're going to make 3 double crochets. In the next cluster space, the same thing, we're going to make 3 double crochets. We're going to keep repeating this process, making 3 double crochets into each cluster space around. So if you'd like, pause here and meet back up with me once you've completed this round. Okay, I'm now working in my last cluster space. I'm making my last double crochets. Okay, and now I can join in the top of that starting chain 3 with a slip stitch. And then I'm going to slip stitch across the next 2 stitches to get into the next cluster space. Okay, so slip stitch into the next cluster space. We can now cut our yarn and fasten off. We're going to keep repeating this granny round until you either reach the height of your pencil cup or 10 total granny rounds. So if you'd like, pause here and meet back up with me once you're done with that. For demonstration purposes, let's say we've reached the height of our pencil cup and now we're ready to create our border rounds. So we're going to start by inserting our hook into any stitch you'd like. So insert your hook into your stitch and grab one of your next colors, make a slip knot, and draw it up through the stitch. I'm going to start with a chain 1, and in that same stitch, we're going to make a single crochet. And we're going to single crochet into each stitch around. If you'd like, pause here and meet back up with me once you made it back to the beginning of the round. Okay, we made it back around to the beginning. And we're just going to end this round by joining with the first stitch of the round using a slip stitch. Okay. So you can go ahead and cut your yarn and fasten off. So we're now ready to begin our scalloped border edge. Okay. And to do this, we're going to just insert our hook into any stitch. Make a slip knot. Put it on your hook and draw up through the stitch. Okay. Chain 1, and we're going to single crochet into that same stitch. Perfect. So we're going to skip 2 stitches, and we're going to make 7 double crochet into that next stitch. Okay, and now we're going to skip 2 stitches, and in the next stitch, we're going to make a single crochet. Skip 2 stitches, and make 7 double crochet into that next stitch. And you're just going to keep repeating the same process all the way around. Skip 2 stitches, single crochet, skip 2 stitches, 7 double crochet, skip 2 stitches. Okay, so I'm almost to the end of the round, and my stitch count for this is not going to work out, but that's okay. So instead of skipping 2 stitches, I'm just going to skip 1. So after that 7 double crochet, I'm going to skip 1 stitch, make a single crochet, skip 1 stitch, and then I'm going to make 7 double crochets into that next stitch. So sometimes the scallop border just requires a little bit of extra fiddling. If your stitch count is a multiple of 6, then it will work out, but sometimes it's not possible. Of course, we could have added or taken away stitches in our single crochet round. I just don't find that necessary. So after we've made 7 double crochets, I can now skip 2 stitches and slip stitch into the first stitch of the round to complete. We can now cut our yarn and fasten off. And this is what it should look like. Turn the cozy wrong side out to expose all the tails, and now we're ready to weave in our ends. So grab any one of your tails and thread it with a yarn needle. And you're going to find kind of just like a 1-inch spot, and you're just going to work that tail back and forth. In that same general spot, making sure to catch different strands as you go, kind of really tangling that tail in there to make sure it's really secure. Okay, once you feel like it's sufficiently weaved in, you can snip it and repeat for all remaining tails. Once all your tails are weaved in, turn it right side out, and this is what it should look like. Grab your pencil cup and insert it into the cozy. And look how cute it is. And there you have it, the pencil cup cozy. Let's make the desk mat. You're going to start by grabbing your yarn and making a slip knot. Slide the slip knot onto your hook. And you're going to want to make a foundation chain of 101. So go ahead and chain 101 chains. For my sample, I'm going to make a much smaller sample. I am going to chain 17. So for your foundation chain, you'll just want to keep in mind that you want to make a multiple of 3 and then add 2 for your foundation chain. So for example, I am going to chain 15 chains. That's my multiple of 3. And then I'm going to add 2. So I'll have a total of 17 chains. Okay, so once you're done with your foundation chain, yours will obviously be much longer than mine. We're going to work row 1 into the back bars of our foundation chain. So starting in the second chain from our hook, insert your hook into that back bar of the chain and make a single crochet. And we're going to single crochet into each chain across the entire row. So at the end of row 1 for you, you should have 100 single crochet stitches. For me, I'll just have 16. So if you'd like, pause here and meet back up with me once you have single crocheted across your entire foundation chain. All right, so I have made it to the end of row 1. We can now turn our work and begin row 2. We're going to start by chaining 3. This chain 3 is going to count as a double crochet. And in that first stitch, we're going to make 1 double crochet. So this made a cluster of 2 double crochets. We're now going to skip 2 stitches. Okay, and in that next stitch, we're going to make 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. Great. Skip 2 stitches, and in the next stitch, make 3 double crochets. And you're just going to keep repeating this process across the row. We're almost to the end of the row. All right, and we're going to skip 2 stitches, and in that last stitch, we're going to make 2 double crochets to mimic the first double crochet cluster of the row. But on our last double crochet, we're going to stop before completing our last yarn over. Cut your yarn and attach your next color. Complete the double crochet with the new color. Okay, turn your work, chain 3. That is going to count as a double crochet. Okay, skip over the 2 double crochet cluster and make 3 double crochets into the next cluster space. Okay, and in the next cluster space, make 3 more double crochets. In the next cluster space, make 3 more double crochets, and you're just going to keep repeating this process all the way across the row. Okay, we're almost done, and yours is going to obviously be much longer than mine. So if you'd like, you can go ahead and pause and resume when you're ready. Okay, so we are at the last cluster space of our row. We're going to make 3 double crochets in there. Okay, and we're going to make a double crochet into the top of the starting chain 3 from the previous row. Once again, we're going to stop before completing that double crochet. We're going to cut the yarn, and we're going to yarn over and complete the double crochet with our new color. We're now ready to turn our work and chain 3. Okay. Make a double crochet between your last double crochet and cluster from the previous row. So make a double crochet in there. Okay. And we're going to make 3 double crochets into the next cluster space. Okay. Make 3 more double crochets into the next cluster space. And keep repeating this all the way across the row. In the chain space from the previous row, we're going to make 2 double crochets to mirror the 2 double crochet cluster from the beginning of the row. But once again, we're going to stop before completing our last double crochet, clip our yarn, and we're going to yarn over and complete the double crochet with our new color. We're going to turn our work and chain 3. Okay, and we're just going to keep repeating rows 3 and 4. So here's another repeat of row 3. We're going to start by making 3 double crochets into the next cluster space. And in the next cluster space, we're going to make 3 more double crochets. And we're going to keep making 3 double crochets into each cluster space across the row. We're almost to the end of the row. Okay, we're in the last cluster space. We're making 3 double crochets. And we're going to make 1 double crochet into the top of the starting chain 3 from the previous row. And this will mimic the start of the row. But once again, we're going to stop before completing our last double crochet. Gonna cut our yarn and yarn over with our new color. We're now ready to begin a repeat of row 4, and we're going to chain 3 and turn our work. Okay, so we're going to make 1 double crochet in the space between our last double crochet and cluster from the previous row. Okay, and so now in the next cluster space, we're going to make 3 double crochets. The next cluster space, we're going to make 3 double crochets. And we're just going to keep repeating the same process. So keep repeating rows 3 and 4 until you have 22 total rows. Okay, we're almost to the end of the row. We're going to end by making 2 double crochets in the starting chain space from the previous row. So pretend I've made 22 rows, and now I'm ready to work on row 23. We're not going to switch colors. We're just going to complete our double crochet as usual, and we're going to turn our work and chain 1. We're going to make a single crochet in each stitch across the row. And this is to mimic row 1. So if you'd like, pause here and meet back up with me once you've made it to the end of the row. Okay, I'm almost to the end of the row. And the last stitch will go into the top of the starting chain 3 from the previous row. So now we're going to cut our yarn and fasten off. And so insert your hook into the first stitch of that previous row that we just did and attach your new color. Start with a chain 1. And we're going to make 3 single crochets into that same stitch. And then in each stitch across this top row, we're going to make a single crochet. So single crochet across this top row until you make it to the last stitch. And in the last stitch, we're going to make 3 single crochets. In the stitches where we're making 3 single crochets, we are creating corners. So up until this point, we've been working back and forth in rows, and now we're switching to work in the round. Okay, I'm in that last stitch of this row, and I'm making 3 single crochets. We're now going to work single crochets along the side edge of our work. So start working single crochets in there. You're just going to want to single crochet evenly along the side. So we made it across the side, and now we've made it to our bottom edge. So in that first stitch along the bottom edge, see, we're going to work into this bottom edge. In that first stitch, and this might be a little bit tight because this is our foundation chain, remember, we're going to make 3 single crochets. So make 3 single crochets into that first stitch. And we're going to single crochet into each stitch along this bottom row. And then once again, once we make it to the last stitch of this row, we're going to make 3 single crochets into that same stitch again. So go ahead, work your single crochets into each stitch across this row. All right, I made it across the row, and I'm in the last stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and make 3 single crochets into that last stitch. All right, and we're now going to repeat the process of working along the side edge. And this is what it should look like. Yours will obviously be much bigger than mine. And just work single crochets evenly along this side edge to create a nice border. Right, and I'm almost done. Okay, so this is what it should look like. And we're going to join into the first stitch of the round. Might be a little bit tight with a slip stitch. So you can cut your yarn. Join with that slip stitch and then fasten off. Okay, perfect. So now we're ready to begin our scalloped border. Insert your hook into any stitch from the round we just created. I'd say any stitch but a corner. So insert your hook and then attach your new color. And now we're ready to make our scalloped border. So get your tails out of the way. We're gonna get your tails out of the way. We're gonna chain 1 and we're gonna single crochet into that first stitch. We're gonna skip 2 stitches, and in the next stitch, we're going to make 7 double crochets, all in that same stitch. Okay, skip 2 stitches, make a single crochet in the next stitch, skip 2 stitches, and make 7 double crochets into the next stitch. And after those 7 double crochets, you're going to skip 2 stitches. So we're just going to keep repeating the same process until you make it to the back around to the beginning of the round. And so it's always going to be single crochet, skip 2 stitches, make 7 double crochet into the next stitch, skip 2 stitches. Keep repeating that process all the way around, and we're not doing anything special in the corners. Alright, so we're almost back around to the beginning, and as I've mentioned previously in the previous projects, the scallop border isn't always going to work out stitch-wise, but that's okay. You can kind of manipulate your stitch counts. So instead of skipping 2 stitches between your stitches, maybe you skip 1 instead. It's kind of manipulating your stitches once you get to the end, but I promise it's not noticeable in your final product. If you'd like to avoid this completely, you could of course make sure that your single crochet round that we did prior to the scalloped edge border is divisible by 6 or a multiple of 6, so you can eliminate it that way, but I just don't find it necessary. Once you get to the end of the round, join with the first stitch of the round with a slip stitch, cut your yarn and fasten off, and there you have it, your super cute desk pad. So now we can flip over our pad and we're going to weave in our ends. Once again, if you've been following along with the first 2 projects, you're just going to take your yarn needle and work it back and forth over about an inch or half an inch spot with your tail, making sure that you get it really sufficiently weaved in. So just work back and forth. And once you feel like your tail's sufficiently weaved in, snip the tail and repeat for all remaining tails. And here's my desk pad. This is what mine looks like, and I'll give you a close-up of all of my corners. So in this corners, I don't know if you can tell, but I had to, that's where my round ended. My round ended right over there, and so I had to manipulate my stitch count a little bit. And it's just not noticeable. Anyway, that is my desk pad. And there you have it, the complete crochet granny desk set. I really hope you found today's tutorials helpful, and if you did, be sure to let me know by giving the video a thumbs up, and if you haven't already and would like to, make sure you subscribe so you never miss a new video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!